The good thing about patience, it's about trust. That's
trust. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It says we're going live. Is it real? Does it mean it? Is it just a rumor? Okay, we are live. Ta-da! All right. Woo!
Live from the land of the dead.
From the land of the eternal.
Yes, the land of the eternal.
Hey everybody, I am Kat Uduro and welcome to Third Eye Salon, where in each and every show we take a fresh look between the veils of reality. And today is a part 2 with Michael Tamura's NDE experiences. But I mean, it's like NDE plus because it's really just the beginning. He was a spiritual teacher before that and awake as a kid. So we are going to be delving into that because we didn't even get into his second NDE on the last show. And also we're going to be meeting his lovely wife and partner, Raphael, in our show. And so we're going to be joining with her. But before we do that, I do want to say hello to my bestie, Linda Coulter-Burge, psychic and conscious business coach. Hey, Linda, I love you. How are you doing today?
I'm so happy to be here. It's always my favorite time when I'm here with you guys. And as always, I'm going to be your live stream chat host. So play nice or get out. And also remember, the sooner you like, share, and subscribe. And remember, you can hit that subscribe button until it turns black, and then you get notified of everything. The more we can share a message out to the world. So do it. And I make it so. And be sure to check out all of the links below because Michael and Raphael have some amazing things. So check them out below. And also know that we're also on Apple and Spotify now. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Thank you, everyone, for your donations, your coffees that you send in. It makes a big difference. We love to have you join our Facebook group so that you can get into the talk afterwards, because we always follow up with a lot afterwards. And we have an event page so you can share these with your friends when they come up. So remember to do that. And with that, hello, Michael. Hello, Raphael. I'm so excited that you're our guest this week. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're happy to be here.
Yes, it's nice to see your lovely face. So let's all say, English, so hard for me. Let's say hello to Angela Anderson, our co-host. She's an artist, she's a motorcycle mechanic, former software engineer, channeler of oneness, and basically anything she wants to be. Angela, we love you. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I love all of you. Lots of love to everybody today. I'm excited to get into things this morning. Michael is such a great treasure trove of wisdom, a wisdom keeper. And so I'm excited to see where this conversation goes. And Rafaela, it's so nice to have you here. And I'm excited to get to know you and what you bring to this world. So I'm excited to get going this morning, guys.
Thank
Awesome. You. I'll switch this over to gallery view just for a quick moment here, just so you can see us all. I'm not going to go back into Michael's bio. It is down below, but since this is a part 2, hopefully everyone rejoining us knows exactly who he is. And if you don't know who he is, where have you been all your life? But I will tell you that, so you know something about Raphael. She does give clairvoyant readings. She is a healer and a psychic teacher. She runs their business, basically. She's the right arm for Seraphim at Mount Shasta. And Raphael is also finishing a book she's writing about animal reincarnation called The Golden Collar. So hopefully we can get into that conversation as well, because she shared an excerpt with me a couple of weeks ago, and it was just so, it's all heart, animals are all heart. So hopefully we can get back into that conversation. But let us pick up where we kind of left off. We didn't even leave off anywhere. We just kind of drove all over the place last time. Which may happen again. It may happen again, and that is okay. Spirit is guiding us. But I wanted to talk about Michael's second NDE and third NDE, just so we can kind of get into that. The first one, was the one where basically came back in with a new contract. And I'm wondering, what your new contract was, because your people, the angels, the archangels were like, you're good to go. You can stay here. And you're like, I'll come back and serve if that's the best thing to do. And they said, sure, sent you on back. And then you had a second contract or a new contract. Could you let us know a little bit about what that contract was when you came back, Michael?
Oh, well, you have to consult with my attorney, spirit attorney.
Oh dear.
Well, here in this world, contract is kind of a heavy word, but what I meant by contract, it's very, very simple. It's an agreement. We're here by contract. we're independent contractors, and so it's a new cycle of incarnation, and even though it's the same old body that I came back into, but it's a completely new cycle of living here. And on the one hand, this new contract would be continuing to teach, but it also is teaching a lot more, because I'm able to bring in, and this is probably one of the aspects of why I've had, 5 near-death, well, actually 6 now, near-death experiences.
6 and counting.
No, I don't think I want to count anymore.
I'm with you on that one.
Like I mentioned last time, dying is easy. It's just the coming back and staying here is, it's that whole thing. Every dog learns in the obedience school, right? Sit, stay, heal. But the first lesson I had to learn at the dog obedience school is drop it. Anyway, we'll get to that later. As far as the contract, it's to I've been, let's see, in the 3rd near-death experience, or after the 3rd near-death experience, that one was different than the first one. First one, the return is completely one of rebirth, just being totally born once more, clean slate, same body, not a baby body, but same body, just clean slate. Nothing from before is there. It's like turning in your leased car and you get a brand new leased car. But the 3rd one was completely different, in the sense that when I returned, and I was told this right before, as I was being sent back here, or escorted back, the last thing I heard was one of, okay, this time it's for resurrection. You have to resurrect yourself. So at that point, I know what the word is, essentially, raising from the dead. And at first it's, well, of course, I've been dead, I'll come back. But no, that's rebirth, is just coming back fresh and clean. Resurrection is a lot more involved, because it's to raise yourself up from the dead. Well, spirit doesn't die. So what does it mean to raise yourself up from the dead? Oh, the only thing that dies is the body. So resurrection means you have to raise yourself, spirit consciousness, from being any body. When you resurrect yourself, you cease to be a body at all. Well, spirit isn't a body in the first place. So resurrecting yourself is essentially waking yourself up fully from the dream of being a body, individual person here in this world, and living as if you belong here. So that's a tall order. It's not just like, okay, this body was dead before and now it's walking around and talking again. No, that's the body. But resurrecting yourself is bringing yourself out of any belief, any attachment, identification that you are a separate individual body thing, your spirit.
That just brings up so many, I think like 1,000 questions for me. Because, well, I mean, one thing I want to say that a lot of people, when they've had NDEs, they come back, they experience a huge dissonance because they've woken up from the dream and they're back in their body and they're like, oh, but I know this is true, yet now I'm back in the dream. And for you, you were a spiritual being when you walked in, like awake. And so you already knew that you were in a dream, and your NDE confirmed that you were in a dream, and that, you know, it just kind of, it made that bridge stronger. That's how I see that story. And because other people, yeah, their NDEs weren't as like, oh yeah, this is like a through line. It was like very, you know, there's a lot of dissonance they had to work through. And so with this whole thing of, you know, we're always told you're not your body, you know, but at the same time, that doesn't mean neglect your body. It doesn't mean abuse your body. To me, it's like the body is a child. The body is my child to take care of, and I need to have a relationship with my body that is very cognizant. And I'm wondering how that was for you, because you're coming back into your body and you know that you're of service to others. That's been your life mission. But how did this relationship with your body change? Did you hear your body speaking to you differently, or did your body become more like liquid to you? Or what was your relationship like after that experience?
Oh, after the initial, the body, it goes, oh no, you're back. You know, so many people, especially with this, the spiritual idea that we are not the body, has been around since the beginning. But just like you were talking, so many people misinterpret what that means. Because the minute somebody hears, oh, you're spirit, you're not the body, you don't have anything to do with the body and the whole bit, the opposite of what you just recommended, they just neglect the body, abuse the body. Asceticism is a great example. It's a practice to basically, you know, some so-called spiritual ascetic practices, you're literally beating up your body, depriving your body, you know, starving it, everything. It's not going to work. Well, that's one of the first things the Buddha taught, is after he went through all that and he almost died. And when he was nursed back to health, and he says, that didn't work, or something to that effect. and because he realized extremes don't work. Now, what is it in terms of actual resurrection, actual realizing? You said, I was born more awake and knew I was spirit, not the body. That's correct. But knowing it and realizing it are two different things, right? Realizing, you have to be able to, you have to live it here. In spirit, it's a no-brainer. Well, in spirit, we don't have a brain. But so in spirit, that's all you are. You are already. And you're not going to be anything else. It's just, here you are. But it's in the incarnation that's the challenge. Incarnating as immortal, limitless, eternal spirit into what? A very limited mortal body that's bound in the rules of time and space. And here, each and every one of us, you know, there's no exceptions. Each and every one of us as spirit, when we are born into a body, boom, the first thing we have to deal with, and all the way through our lives, and the last thing we have to deal with is this, oh, how do I manage as an immortal, infinite, eternal being in this mortal, limited, temporary body and world. That's huge. And that's partly why every one of us takes such a long time of reincarnation. You know, in school, hey, we'd be total flunkies. How many times are we having to go through kindergarten because we didn't graduate? From this school of life on planet Earth, when you graduate, you don't have to come back. Oh, okay. So what's the final exam? Well, the final exam in every class every lesson we go through is demonstration. We have to be able to live what we learned here, right now, in this body, in this world, where, oh yeah, we know it's a body we're living in. This body is essentially a communication device, just like our smartphones. The body is an incredibly sophisticated biological smartphone with wheels, legs, and arms. So we're using everything that, as a spiritual being, I use my body for here in this world is to communicate with everyone else, communicate with the land, the planet, plants, trees, whatever, animals, communicate with yourself, communicate as spirit, communicate with God. It's a device through which we're able to communicate with the rest of us.
So I know the ladies want to hop in with questions as well. I think both Angela and Linda are like me. So yes, we'll do that as well. For me, there's the dissonance of when you think you are the body, and the thing that you said, my life isn't about me, it is about service. And so that is a perspective when you are connected from the divine and into the divine, and being able to know that the body is also of service to that. Anything that is not in alignment to that, like there's the karma, there's the work, there's the dharma, or I don't know if dharma is the right word, but there's the clay that you've got to work through and massage and be able to come to terms with. Because a lot of that, disciplining the body is people's attempts to try to discipline the mind. I'll fast, I'll do these things to my body because I'm trying to control my mind. But again, that's the outside in approach as opposed to the inside out approach. And I'm fascinated by the ability to live in the space of, it doesn't matter what happens to me, I'm not going to panic because I know that I'm here of service. Oh, I just lost my home, that's for the highest good. You know what I mean? To being able to operate from that level where life is no longer, it's a game and it's no longer threatening to you. That to me is like the biggest self-mastery that I can see at this time.
Yeah. Well, it's not, well, first and foremost, I want to clarify something about being a body or not being a body. I say being a body, not necessarily this physical body. So what do I mean by a body? Any body, right? Yes, this physical thing here is definitely a body. But every thing in this world that seems like a separate thing is a body. Just like we say a planet, or a star is a celestial body, right? It's a body, it's a thing. So my definition of a body is it's a thing. It has a beginning and an ending, or at least we think it does. So then resurrecting oneself from the dream of being a body is not just this physical thing here that I incarnated into is not who I am, but down to the individual thoughts and feelings. A feeling is a body. It's got a beginning and an end. A thought definitely is a body. It's got a beginning and an end. Yeah. So anything with a beginning and an end is of the divided. It's separate. Until we're aware, oh, we're not. So we're dealing with an illusion. We're dealing with an image. Every soul, every spiritual being is like a 24/7, moment by moment photojournalist, or videographer is a better analogy. We're taking a videotape of everything we ever experience, every thought, every feeling, every action, every whatever, right? And when we review that, we call that memory, right? Now, we all know that our memories are very, very unreliable as far as accuracy. What makes our memories so unreliable? Because we are all creative, extremely creative beings. And you think creativity is really good. Well, it is, but creativity, like a gun, is how you use it. Yeah. So it could be good, it could be bad. It's how you use it. Creativity itself is great, but our use of our creativity, a lot of times not so great. So in our incredible creative power, we are able to make up stuff. Every experience we have, if we only took the video of the actual experience, it'd be fine. In fact, we do that most of the time. But when we have a really outrageous experience, when we have something that we, in our mind, judge the experience to be fantastic or terrible, what is that? Oh, we added a judgment to that experience. And we naturally, instinctively, if we judge the experience as really, really great, we like it. If we judge it as terrible, we don't like it. We could even hate it. So that's not part of our experience. Liking it or disliking it is after the fact. Judgment definitely is after the fact. When we blame, oh my God, this happened to me because some idiot did this and this and this. Well, right there in that little tiny moment, how many judgments did I create? How many opinions do I have? How much of my reactionary feelings about what already just happened am I adding on to the actual experience? And human beings tend to do this all the time, right?
Guilty.
And yeah, and so that's what clouds our memory. When if we were summoned by some police detective saying, okay, you were a witness at the scene of the crime, tell us all about it. And you got 100 witnesses, you got 100 different reports, because everybody, oh, that was horrible. Oh, this was the greatest thing. Oh, this is, blah. And they already have prejudices. They already have, belief systems locked in. So they're looking at the experience through all these filters of judgments and ideas and beliefs and emotions and reactions and everything else. So everybody has the experience is the exact same thing, what happened, but everyone has a different memory of it because they're not sticking with the actual memory of that particular moment in time of exactly what happened without any opinion, without any judgment, blame, or emotions or anything. It's just, yeah, this person came out of this door and went down the street that way and was wearing a green shirt, That's what happened. But, oh, it was a really lousy colored, sickening green. so it's like that. And even when somebody says, okay, how tall was this person? One person says, oh, he was really, really tall. And the other person says, kind of short. to a 7'2" NBA center, he was a little tiny pygmy. to someone who's 4'10", he was really, really tall. Okay, so it's just, those are all creative changes that we add on to our experience. So waking up, when we do that, we create even the one memory, which in itself, one image, even the true image or the factual image, is already a body, right? It's got a beginning and an end. The movie seems like it's ongoing, but if you analyze a movie, it's got individual frames, seemingly repeated, but it's slight difference because every moment is slightly different in this world. But if you get down to the editing room, you see that each frame is an individual picture of one moment in time with a beginning and an ending. Yeah.
I like the idea. I read this years ago that that the body, or that we are coagulated thought forms. We're basically thought forms that have congealed into a physicality. Hop in, Miss Angela.
Yeah, I think this is so fascinating because I think it's so true what you said about you have to live it. You can't, it's difficult to explain to anybody that you're not a physical body, your spirit in a physical, utilizing a physical body. The challenge that I found as I go down this rabbit hole, I'm less inclined to engage in the dramas of other people because I realize that they are playing roles. That's been the biggest challenge for me. Understanding that I'm the spirit controlling this physical body was the easy part, because then I realized that I was the commander in chief. I can dictate how this vessel looks, how it processes information, all these different things. And I can see myself even on photographs, the way that I transformed once I realized this, once I had this realization and internalized it and started to actually live it and integrate it and be it. But the challenge has been in dealing with the dramas of other people, the roles that they've chosen to play, and not the unwillingness to engage in those dramas, and then having that drama play out because I'm not inclined to engage in those particular dramas. But one of the other things that you spoke to was the fact that you came into a greater awareness of your contract or purpose. And for those who may not necessarily have a mystical experience or an NDE experience, what would you say is the path that they could follow to take that journey to the realization of self, to come into awareness of the self or their contract or purpose?
Well, what is the way to anything? It's awareness, right? Without awareness, there is no way to get from point A to point B. So the basic guiding light is awareness. And literally awareness, when you experience awareness, it is light. And light doesn't have any darkness. Darkness is only shading, putting up the barrier from the light. So when the heavy storm clouds come in, the sunlight is still there, as bright as ever. But down here, we don't see the light and we go, oh, it's all dark. This is the end of the world, kind of a thing. A similar thing, even more, happens in one's mind when we obscure the awareness. We cover up the awareness. Then everything gets darker. what covers up? What do we use to cover up the awareness? That's what I was talking about with those individual images. The more images, if you're old enough to know what a slide projector used to be, well, the really, really simplified mechanics of the slide projector is you put one transparency of the image into the place where the light goes through, the tube that the light goes through, and with the lens and everything, and shines the light through that one slide image onto a white screen at a distance, and you can see, oh, what the image is. But what if we put another different transparency next to that one, in front of that one? Then the light will go through both of them. And so now you don't have a clear image of something. You have a blurry double kind of image of something. And it's a little bit darker than the original one slide. If you put 10 slides in there, oh, it's going to get way more. Who knows what's in there? It's just a total blur. And it's what the blur you can see is very dark, muddled and dark. If you put 100 slides in there, there's no light coming through. It's all dark. The screen is dark. And that's what everyone experiences all the time. So when you see someone who looks very bright, once somebody, a great master said, you are the light of the world, right? It's absolutely true. But looking at a lot of people, you don't notice that because they've dimmed themselves down.
Yeah, I love that analogy because each of those slides, those transparencies, those are the limiting beliefs that we've chosen to attach to that shield or shade or prevent the light from flowing through unhindered. Yeah. And it's when we are able to remove those limiting beliefs or reframe and readdress those limiting beliefs as unnecessary, we pull them out of the way so that the light can shine through clear, undistorted. Yeah.
And also, the example you gave earlier about dramatic, people who are in the drama department and they're playing roles and you just don't want to have anything to do with it. That's one of the things about that is going back to what Kat was talking about in terms of the tendency for a spiritual person who would like to realize being total spirit and not the body. Well, they go from opposition. They go from the place of, oh, I'm not supposed to be the body. Okay, I'll deny the body. I'm not the body. I'm not the body. I'm not the body. And they expect they're going to realize being total spirit. Well, the thing you have to look at for people who are spiritual seekers, what happens the moment you go to the negative of I'm not the body? Well, you still are. You can't get rid of yourself, right? I am. But if I say, if I'm not the body, if I'm thinking I got to not be the body, I'm separating, I'm dividing myself up. The body cannot survive, can't breathe one breath. The heartbeat can't happen if at least some part of you as spirit isn't animating it. So while you're animating the body and you decide, I'm not that body, well, you divide it yourself between the part of you that's keeping the body alive and living in the body, and what happened to the part of you that's deciding I'm not the body? You left the body and saying, I'm up here. I'm a pure spirit up here. Yes, we all are. But when we come down here into an incarnation, we can't go around splitting ourselves between who I am as a spirit in my pure form and that body thing. Oh, that's not me. Yeah. Well, because there's part of me still being the body. So how do we go around that? This is an answer to your question of people who are seeking to realize that. Is we got to own up to it. Oh, it's not an intellectual consideration. Are we being a body in some way, shape, or form? Yes. That's why I mentioned, yes, I knew I wasn't the body, this physical body, but I didn't realize, okay, what do I need to, how do I need to go about this to realize what I already knew as spirit out of the body? I knew I'm not that body. I mean, because the minute I die, the minute I get out of the body, I don't even think, there's no thought of a body.
Mhm.
I'm not going, oh my God, I got to go back. No, that's why Raphael is kind of
I'm the one that's keeping him on,
Yeah, it's just-
track.
Get back right here, right now. And so then, because it's so easy,
Mhm.
I'm not missing anything. But then I'd have to reincarnate to get to that part of myself that is completely dedicated to, attached to, identified with. This is what I have to keep alive because this is me. Right? Even that's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but it's still there. If it's not there, I can't be here. All right. So then we have a concept we teach our students called being a body of glass. And it's just an analogy because clear glass lets the sunlight pass right through without, well, technically it does reflect a little bit and blah, blah, blah. But on a gross level, it looks like, oh, the light passes through with no filtering. So the idea of the body of glass is, okay, I am still being a body in some level. I still consider myself Michael Tamura, different than Angela, right? And so, okay, and I think of in the everyday kind of a sense, I'm doing this, not you, I'm doing that, right? So on the one hand, being a body of glass means no matter what the experience is, everything's energy, everything we experience is energy. We just let it, even if it's insults or malice being thrown at us, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, we just let that energy pass through the body of glass that I'm being. What happens if we stick with that? Well, eventually, nothing sticks to you. Why? Because we're letting go of our attachment to any kind of defense or resistance. We're not putting our creative power toward resisting, attacking, fighting, trying to get rid of, trying to figure out. That's a huge one for a lot of people, especially spiritual seekers, because there's still a lot of them trying to figure it out. That's intellectual resistance, right? So anything that makes you hold on to any kind of an energy, that's resistance. Even if it sounds good, like, no, I was trying to help this person. Okay, that's great, but how were you trying to help that person? And the person goes, oh, well, he's an idiot. And somebody needed to set him right, and and if only he took vitamin C, it would be all good. So I was force feeding vitamin C to him, right? I'm a healer. Are you? No, you're trying to control somebody. And if you really look within yourself, who does that is, oh, my life is on the line, because I can't stand this person the way they are. And this person being the way they are is, I'm scared, is threatening me. He could ruin my life. So I have to heal him and fix him and solve his problem, or else I'm doomed. That is one of the really seemingly innocuous trap that most healers get stuck in somewhere along the way.
Yeah, that's so priceless. Such a priceless statement. And one of the things you always talk about, I've heard you talk about before, is the value of neutrality, being able to exist in that neutral state. And this speaks volumes to that. So
Yeah. And so the body of glass idea is to practice, since we're being a body already anyway, we have to own up to it. And so, but then we still have free choice to be this kind of a body, right? A body of total neutrality, a body that is free of all resistance or limitations, like you said, same thing. And so if I practice living every day, letting everybody's, any energy, good or bad, just pass right through without me interfering it in any way, shape, or form, what I end up doing is, in order to do that, I have to let go of my beliefs. I have to let go of my attachment to being that body of us, that thought, that body of a belief, that body of emotional reaction, and let that go until I don't have it anymore. So then it's not an effort. It's not any kind of a practice I have to do. I don't resist anything. Then I won't be here. Then I'd be done completely.
Then you died correctly.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Hop in, Miss Linda.
Okay, so much is going through my mind, being that healer that consciously or unconsciously starts to help people in my presence. Kat knows something that happened this week that spontaneously helped someone without actually realizing it till I got the effect of it. But also wanting that for my husband, who's got chronic conditions that just pile one on top of the other. It's hard, and it's a huge lesson for me to step back and let him have his journey, knowing that it also affects me.
Yes.
So, affects my life. That's a big part of it. Where I struggle with this is that I will not walk past a child being abused and not do something about it. Mm-hmm. My judgment at that point comes into play. And so if you were to walk past that situation, how do you deal with that? Because for me, that's not something that passes by me without an effort to make it stop.
Okay. That's really good, because first and foremost, not just that specific situation, but addressing this difficulty that all of us who are healers have to deal with is, you have to first remember that either or is always and always of the ego. Spirit, on the other hand, is always both and more, which means it's open-ended. There's no limitations. Either or is extremely as limited as it can come, right? It makes either or makes it seem like either you have to jump in with all 4 feet and clobber that bully and abuser and put him away for good and or you just turn a blind eye to the whole thing and says, I'm so happy, it's not my problem, the whole bit, and pretend it's not there and walk away. That's either or. Never works. Yeah? With either or, whether you go the either or you go the or, it won't work, because you're dividing yourself in two. And anytime you divide, united we stand, divided we fall. That's true for just one of us. Okay? So then, taking that specific example of child abuse. By the way, Raphael and I belong to probably one of the finest, biggest organizations in the world that fights child abuse. And from prevention all the way through healing, right? Every step of the way. And they deal with, on the after the fact part, they deal with probably the most abused children, the ones that have been most neglected, abused, and in the worst case scenarios, before the only thing society can do is just lock them away somewhere in a padded cell. But they help everybody up to that point where there's something they can do. It's amazing organization. It's called Child Help. But anyway, so you know how I feel about child abuse, right? So then you never walk away from it, but you don't resist it. So like Angela was saying, that importance of neutrality. And neutrality doesn't mean have no feelings. No, neutrality allows you to have your feelings without becoming the emotional reaction. Does that make sense? So if you notice anybody being abused, what do? You have to find neutrality, or otherwise you're not going to be of great effect. Because how do you deal with, well, it's very standard. Most everybody knows that if you give in to the hostage taker's demands, they'll back off a little bit so that they could demand some more. It's just not going to put an end to it. And often will make the situation even worse. And especially if the hostage taker is, insane. Well, my thought on hostage takers in general, or bullies, they're already partially insane. They're stuck. It's not insane as in terms of a derogatory mental condition. They're stuck. They're ignorant. Their awareness is so narrowed down. They're only seeing just a very small fraction of the 360-degree circle of existence. So a person who's narrowed down so much, we can't communicate with them on a normal level because they're not, our communication goes everywhere but this one exact spot that they can deal with. And a lot of times that one exact spot, it's narrowed down to, well, I'm going to deal with you violently. And the only way I'm going to even acknowledge that you exist is if you deal with me violently. And when you look at that, it says, well, that's a no-win situation. Don't make it an either or. Since that's a no-win situation, they're beyond any control, they're beyond everything. There's nothing you can do except maybe shoot them, right? To stop them, or somehow get them locked away forever. In the long run, sooner or later, they're going to die and get out of it. But they'll come back. So nothing's really been solved. Ultimately, the leak's been stopped for that moment, but it's still going on. Now, what changes everything in situations like that where only a miracle could solve it, right? Essentially, nothing that anybody knows how to do. There's no diagrams for it. There's no guidebooks. It's just the person who's perpetuating it makes it impossible for people who want to solve it to solve it. Except when something out of the ordinary happens, seemingly on its own. We call that a miracle. But miracles can only happen through spirit, and miracles, we call miracles here. Everything in spirit is, from this perspective, is a miracle because it's undivided. Miracles here in this divided world could only emerge out of the undivided spirit. The spirit that's in this world is us, in the bodies that are meant to be vehicles of communication. So how miracles happen here in this world is via the communication device from spirit, us, spirit. So then, how can we prevent or stop, or at the very least mitigate abuse or abusive situations? We gotta create a miracle. Something that's not what we intellectually decide, A, B, C, here's the law, here's the cops, here's the this, and here's the that. If those normal societal avenues are not usable right then. Yeah, it's happening right now. I'll give one incredible example of that. Rafi and I had a dog we named Shanti. She was a Great Pyrenees. You know what a Great Pyrenees? A big, white, fluffy, furry dog, triple coat. She was an embodiment of unconditional love and grace and just absolute amazing. So one morning, Rafi and I had to kind of rent a little apartment in a not so great area of town, and because we're in between selling a house and buying another one, and we hadn't decided exactly where and what house and all that kind of stuff, so we're renting a place temporarily. I'm taking Shanti out for a walk, nice day, sunny day, and I'm walking down the sidewalk, and there's house kind of a thing, single dwelling houses, and I see in this little tiny front yard, I see this 3 boys, 9 years old, 10 years old, kind of around that age. And 2 of them were blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boys, and one was a black boy. And oh, no, the opposite. The 2 of them were black boys, and one was a white boy. And they're playing, having a great time, being very much in their own space, good kids. And I say hi to them, they say hi, and we're walking by. Then in front of the front door of their house just blasts open. I mean, I've never seen a door open with that much violence and rage, right? And out comes this monster of a guy. He looked like the big, what's it called? The Hulk? Yeah, bulging muscles, huge, right? And as he's coming, I mean, it was, you don't have to be psychic to see the rage he was in. And the moment he steps outside, he starts yelling at those boys. Get back in here. And his temples, the blood vessels on his temples are bulging out. And I just stop in my tracks going, holy shit, this is not good. And so I stood there, grounded myself, grounded the boys, grounded the guy. And I'm looking at, what do I need to do? This is creating the miracle. I didn't go for, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. Yeah? I just said, what am I supposed to do? What can I do to at least avert this situation? Because it was clear where it's gone, right? Those 3 kids were at risk. Well, guess what? I got the answer in the form of Shanti, our dog. This guy is halfway to the kids, ready to pounce. And his head literally jerks around, looks at Shanti, and he stops in his tracks and says, "Oh my God, what a beautiful dog." And I'm going, "Thank you." And I said, come over. She's really gentle. She won't hurt you. You could pet her." And he goes, "Can I?" I said, "Absolutely. Come on over." And I'm just going, whoa. He comes over, that rage is gone. And he falls on his knees and he's all over Shanti, just rubbing her. And wow, what a beautiful dog. What a beautiful dog. And then he turns to the boys, completely different person, and goes, boys, you want to see the doggy?" And they come running over. Everybody was all over Shanti. And I'm just like, amazing. Yeah. And then I just let them, take your time, have fun. I don't have anywhere else to go. And then finally, the guy goes, "Oh yeah, what he was coming out in rage for is because I guess they were going somewhere, right? And the boys should have been ready, but they weren't, that kind of stuff is what my read on it was. But this time, no, it's all great." And they he goes to the boys, he goes, "Boys, we got to get going." And they all stand up, and he put his arms around all three of them. They walked in together, laughing. That's a miracle. I couldn't have imagined that, right? I had no idea how I was going to deal with it, but I knew, just like you, I knew I couldn't leave that place without dealing with it somehow. But the answer's always there. And
That's a beautiful example.
Yeah, it's not going to be what you expect.
That's kind of what Paul Selig speaks to with the guides and seeing the divine or seeing the divinity in all things, because I think in that moment you realize the interconnectedness of all of you. And so you were able to call on that divine presence to serve as guide in the moment. But it took taking that breath and grounding in order to get there and not responding from a reactionary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And did I have a reaction first? Of course. Yeah. Right. I was horrified, right? I was scared. I was horrified, but grounded, found that neutrality, and asked for help.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about, that was a tremendous story. My God. I wanted to talk a little bit about the empathic dilemma because, most healers are empathic to some level. And I don't know, maybe Raphael can also speak to this because I know she's a healer too. But like, I know that one thing I caught myself doing was like, oh, you want to help these people through their pain because you can feel their pain. And once they stop feeling the pain, then you'll stop feeling their pain. So like, it was this roundabout way of like, I'm going to help these people, so I'll stop feeling their pain. So it was like, okay, you got to learn to not do that. And then the other extreme was what I call spiritual bypassing, where it's like, I can't feel the pain. You're telling me that your mother just died, and I'm like, but she's in heaven now. Like, I'm not with you in what you're experiencing. I've gone to the other extreme, and I won't acknowledge your suffering or pain because I'm spiritual and I'm above pain and I'm above suffering. So I can't entertain the fact that you're not there. I'm only going to try to I'm going to look at you until you get there. Yes. And there's certainly a thing of holding a space for somebody so they can get there, but you're not disconnected in that relationship. You're in the pain with them. You can feel the pain. You might even have tears coming down your face because you can feel their pain, but you're not caught in their pain. And I think, this whole idea of being a window pane is really challenging for a lot of us, because I know empathically, I try to block people's feelings because if it comes through me, I don't know how to let it go all the way through. It just comes through me and it's in me. And I'm like, okay, now I got to release that. You know what I mean? And so I'm not sure what my question is, but wherever your heart guides you to talk on that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, what you're describing is compassion. That's that's the missing ingredient in the example you gave of healers, or those, well, I wouldn't say just purported to be healers, but those who are healers. But just this is what happens a lot of times. There was a period of time, 3 years, I was a nurse in hospitals and stuff. So I got to witness what happens to a lot of doctors who start off idealistic healers, givers. They want to help people, but the intensity and the pain and suffering that they have to deal with every single day from morning till night, especially in a hospital, especially in ERs and places like that, is so intense. They do the same thing that you said, is just, okay, distance them. I'm going to shut off. I don't want to feel any of this, because I can't operate as a doctor and do all this stuff to help them if I feel where they're at. I'll be the one needing the surgery. I'll be the one needing the pain medication, right? So they shut that off, but then their bedside manner certainly suffers. It's like, okay, here's case number 43. There's another liver case. Here's a stomach case, whatever. And they make it into some kind of just a thing, not a person, to deal with it. But in healing, that all-important compassion. Without compassion, there is no real healing. There might be some change. There might be symptomatic relief for temporarily, but there's no real substantial healing. Compassion is the avenue through which real healing happens, because what's compassion? Compassion is when you're not divided either way. You're whole. And you're maintaining that space of, hey, I am. The being the body of glass and letting it pass through is a difficult. I mean, I've been working on that ever since I learned it when I was 20 years old. And I'm at least 25 now. And so, but what the third near-death experience I had, which was the most profound, and that's the one I came back from to learn to resurrect fully. During that time, one of the things I got to experience 3 times, 3 whole rounds of, is practicing totally being a body of glass and letting every image, and they were horrific images, painful, people begging for end to their suffering, people begging for healing, begging for help, right? Reaching out to, monster-looking, horrific-looking entities blasting you with everything they got. Just letting it pass right on through. Of course, it's a lot easier when my body's dead. But I knew, oh yeah, if I can't do it here, I'm never going to be able to do it there, right? So I did it there and got it done, so to speak. Then I knew when I came back, and it's not an instant thing at all, I'm still inching my way along and getting better at letting things pass through. And when there's a reactionary inside of myself that's going, no, or no, I'm going to control it. I'm going to make it happen. Blah, it has to. I'm so much more aware of it that I can go, okay, that too shall pass. And I see it passing through. And then over time, it just passes through. Because I'm no longer giving my power and seniority over to the resistance. Because I know the resistance is, I'm the one resisting it. I'm not separate from the resistance. The minute we separate ourselves from our resistance to anything, we have no control over that resistance. Then we really become a victim to it. But if we don't separate ourselves from the resistance and own it and go, oh yeah, I'm the one resisting it. I'm the one who has to become this body of glass and let it pass through. But you mentioned, I'd like to hear Raphael's take on this in terms of, how do you handle that and what goes on in that situation? Because she's the healer I go to.
Oh,
Yeah, and the reason I go to her because nobody else would have me. I'm just
I'm
such
sure people would want to play.
I'm just
you're such a nightmare to deal with, Michael.
Exactly.
Yeah.
God. And she doesn't even charge overtime.
You have to make your own dinner that night when she does the healing work.
Oh no, I make all the dinners.
Oh, you make all the dinners
every
That's how
night.
it should be.
Oh, we
That's how
have
it
a
should
good
be.
division of labor between us, believe me.
That was my stereotypical assumption. I apologize. Raphael, let us know what's your
Well,
experience.
one of the things I was thinking about when Michael, when you asked the question about this, is that the thing that he was talking about at the beginning about the slides that block the light. And part of our training has been to look at the slides, we call them pictures, that block the way. So for instance, if you were trained, that you have to be really smart, or if you were even told you were really stupid, for instance, that's a good one, that you're the stupid one in the family. That was me. I come from a family of Mensa smart rocket scientists, literally. A couple of my brothers are rocket scientists, and I come from a big family. And so I was the stupid one. And it was probably because my IQ was intuitive quotient instead of intelligence quotient. But anyway, if you have various pictures that you carry with you, and we all do from our childhood and so on, if that picture holds a lot of charge, then if someone in the past, if someone came along to me and said I was stupid, it would hurt my feelings really badly. It would be like that person would say that thing and it would go boom right onto that, what I call stupid picture, and boom, it would hit me right in the heart chakra, and it would make me want to cry or whatever, and get me all upset. So, even people who are afraid of, the sight of blood and that sort of thing, some of these pictures that we carry come from past lifetimes. So we're not even aware of it. So we have all these pictures, and, the ones, Kat, you talked about, okay, I feel your pain and I want to fix it so I feel better. That's a workaround that a lot of healers do. They're not really looking at their own pictures of why is that? Well, because you have what's called a matching picture. And when you're around that picture, when you're around that person, that matching picture comes up. That's your own pain you're feeling, not necessarily theirs, even though it could be really accurate. That person has a pain in the knee, left knee. I feel the pain in the left knee. Well, there's a picture in there that's resonating with their pain. So if you get to that picture and blow that picture, you won't feel their pain, but you can still clairvoyantly read it. And if that person needs a healing on it and asks you for a healing, you can help them blow their pain picture. And, the other part is body care, taking care of these things. If their knee pain is because they're walking too much and they need surgery in their knee, they're going to have pain in that knee. And then there's the underlying source of why is there weakness in the knee? Well, maybe there was a karmic thing where you went around busting people's knees, as a mobster or something. That's like that. Who knows? But being able to clear the pictures up, and how I do it is when I'm giving readings to people, I watch for my matching pictures. And we do this thing called blowing the picture. You put it in the rose, the image of a rose, and blow it up. Or you just recognize, oh, yes, there's my matching picture. And then you could, what is it Jesus said? What's that saying?
Take the log out of your own eye before
you
reach
take
in.
the sliver out of the other person's eye. And that's the matching picture. So the more of these that you can recognize that you have in yourself and that you work through your meditations, and in my case, in my readings too, I do it through both, because we all have a lot of pictures. Let's say you have something happen and it really upset you. And why did it upset you? And then you can kind of get to the pictures of why it upset you. And it's really a fast way to calm yourself down, because it's your own stuff, as they say. And when you can start to release those, it's really starting to get close to that advanced form of forgiveness. So for instance, in that story that Michael told, That even got to me, even though I've heard the story a million times. That's why I had to turn off my thing. I was dabbing my eye. But, even with a situation like that, if you don't have time to ground yourself, if you just get yourself into that miracle mindedness of there's a bigger picture going on here, something else is going on here that I can't see. So that miracle mindedness for me is forgiveness mindedness, not making that other guy, the guy who's enraged, a bad guy in my mind, that there's something going on here, that I'm here, it's in front of me. Obviously, Spirit wanted me here to help in some way. And some people fail, and that's okay, because you'll be presented with it once again, so to speak, to try again. So in Michael's case, he did have a moment to ground himself and be in his center, so he could just let unfold what could unfold. But in the case of, let's say, what Linda was talking about, if you see someone beating on a kid and you get into that miracle mindedness, what's my role in this? And you'll know instantly if you're listening to your intuition, and you'll know and be able to act with that compassion that Michael was talking about. So Body of Glass is one of my very, very favorite tools. The funny thing is, the very first time I got a reading in the place that we got trained, or not the first time, maybe about the third time, I was looking at this girl who was reading me, and the person who was running the readings came in, and he saw me looking at her, and he saw why I was looking at her. And my thought at the moment was, she's so clean. It feels clean to be with this person. And what the man who was her teacher explained to me was, she's practicing this tool called Body of Glass. And she seems really clean, doesn't she? And I said, yes, she does. And from that moment on, that became one of my pursuits in my psychic training, was I wanted to have my energy be that clean. And I, even to this day, so many years later, I still practice it. I still teach it. And one of the things in readings, people have a lot of problems. There's the big 7 problems that everybody comes with, and maybe there's some unusual things once in a while. But for the most part, people just want to have that clean energy, and not, when there's problems, we're walking around feeling kind of dirty, right? With this problem. Oh, I got this problem, and it's the IRS is after me. That's a good dirty problem, right? What if you just blew all your resistance pictures to the IRS and just decided, okay, the IRS is after me. Let's just face this. Let's do this thing. Let's take care of it. Get the help that you need. Use your intuition for that, and get it done. That's basically how I work with that.
Raphael, I have some follow-up, because one of the things that I've encountered is that I can pick things up physically from people, or emotionally, thinking that I've put up whatever I need to protect myself. And for me, there's a part of that protection seems, again, separation.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to allow that, I seem to get it after the fact. I go, oh, is this mine? And then as soon as I ask that question, usually it will dissipate.
Yes.
But rather than hold on to it, what practices do you suggest to allow yourself to be that glass body so that it doesn't attach in? So there's maybe there's an awareness.
Well, 2 things.
But not an attachment.
Yeah, 2 things. One is being grounded as much as you can, because that's sometimes the energy will come in and it just goes right through and down into the grounding cord. But the other is non-resistance, not resisting that you can feel it. And because as soon as you resist, it's like your energy grabs onto it like that. Boom. And that's why it takes your awareness to go, wait a minute, that's not mine. And you let it go. But there's another part of this too, and that is you're very psychic and intuitive, and there's a part of you that's a little afraid that if you let it go, you're not going to be aware. And that's not true. You will be aware of it. It's just on a higher level, and you don't have to feel it. So it's very, very freeing. It's taken me quite a few years to get there. And sometimes I still lower my energy down and feel, the smack of energy or whatever that comes through. But I just remember immediately, okay, body of glass, and also not holding it against that person that their energy, smacked me or whacked me or whatever, or that I even felt it on a whole body level. And by the way, sometimes it's important that you feel it in emergency situations so you know what's up, but again, it's just having that full awareness. Okay, it's not mine. So it's just really easy to let go of. And after a while, that practice, it just becomes automatic.
I think for me, the fear is that I can end up in a puddle on the floor if I let it all in.
Nope.
And that's okay. See, that's, I think I said in the part 1 last time that my greatest of all psychic abilities that I have is retrocognition. That, 20 years after the fact, I go, oh, I see it clearly now. Well, that's the way I've always been. And so some of my greatest learning experiences is after I'm a roadkill or, puddle on the floor, I learned, oh, if you're a puddle on the floor, well, mop yourself up. If you're roadkill, get a spatula and, scrape yourself off the road and try again. So it's like that. And when you look at it that way, then it's, oh, you're not trying to prevent something. Why do we want to prevent everything? Because we're afraid of it. And in fact, going back to what you were talking about way back earlier in this show, is as a healer and as an empath, and you can't pass by a situation that's a lot of suffering. If you really look at that, it's exactly what Raphael is talking about. Oh, matching pictures. It's really not about the other person who's being abused or suffering. It's the pain and horrors and everything that comes up for you. And you got to go, you say, I have to do something about that situation because I can't live like this, right? With this stuff in my face. But if you let go of those pictures first and find some semblance of neutrality, but finding that neutrality also comes with another thing that Jesus said was there's no greater love than for you to lay down your life for someone, right? A lot of people don't get the real gist of what that means. Doesn't mean you have to take the bullet and kill yourself to save somebody else. It means, what does it mean to lay down your life for your brother or for somebody else? It means, oh yeah, you have to recognize you're not going to die. That kind of love is undivided, which means unconditional. Well, normally I'll help you, but not today because that looks a little bit too dangerous. Right? Oh, not today because, it's raining or whatever the case may be. Those like conditions. And that's one of the things that I really got to look at in my second near-death experience was, oh yeah, if I'm going to live here and fulfill my new contract, I have to practice living unconditionally. I can't say, oh, yuck, that's not going to look right, or that's not going to feel right, or whatever. And that stepped up my ability to be more of a body of glass and let pass through, because I have to either after the fact, after I'm kind of semi roadkill and I'm okay, Raphael, I need a healing. And I get a healing. I feel a little better. It says, now, while I'm able to, I have to look within myself and what made me roadkill? Oh, there's this competition picture inside from early childhood. I have to prove myself that I could fix this. Okay, boom, that's gone. Of course, there's a bunch of those, right? It's not just one, but so we keep on coming. But the second one, next time it comes up, I'm much more aware of it, faster and easier to blow up. Yeah. Essentially, blowing up those pictures means I'm forgiving myself for having to hold on to those pictures, having to be those pictures, having to identify with those pictures. I'm forgiving it, just letting it go. Okay, so then that thing of laying your life down for someone else just means, oh yeah, I'm unconditionally, yes, I'm afraid of it. It's a lie when somebody says, oh, I don't have any fears. Unless the only one that I know would be able to truly say, I don't have any fears, are the enlightened beings, fully enlightened beings. They do not have any fear. Why? Because they're completely being the spirit self, undivided. There's no fear in the undivided. Fear is just a product. Fear is what we experience when we're divided. That's all. And that's why, how do we divide ourselves? Oh yeah, I wanna help you, but I can't. We divided ourselves to the part that's going, I can't, and the part that's going, I need to, or I want to. Anytime we divide ourselves into, we're going to experience fear. So laying one's life down for the life of another means, oh yeah, even if the fear comes up, because the fear is already there. We've already been divided before we encounter this event, because we wouldn't have a problem if we didn't have fear, right? So fear comes up, it's already past time fear. It's not fear of what's happening right in front of our eyes. It's fear of what already happened to us, sometimes in another lifetime or when we were a child, coming back up. Well, guess what? Past time fear isn't real. It doesn't exist because as a child, oh, I didn't know how to deal with this. Now I do. As a child, I didn't have any tools. Now I have plenty of tools. Right? As a child, I wasn't aware of this part. Now I'm much more aware of it. So I'm not that child anymore. I don't have to be. But the fear is fear. It doesn't matter if you're a child fear or adult fear or fear from yesterday, it's still fear. And it doesn't matter if it's somebody else's fear, it's still fear. It's still the experience of you being divided. So in our mind, we interpret that immediately. I am afraid. No, I'm not afraid. I'm just experiencing fear. Courage is always the antidote for fear. So when somebody says, oh, this is a courageous person, it's not because they have no fear, they never experience fear. No, it's because in the experiencing of fear, they continue to, like Raphael was saying, step forward and go through, do what you need to do. You don't let the fear stop you. You don't let the fear be the boss of you. You remind yourself, oh, I'm an incredibly creative being, which means I'm a very powerful. Creativity means power. I'm a very powerful being. We are never, never without power. We're made up of it. We can't divorce ourselves from power because it's part of us. So I like to use the word creativity more because people have a strange concept of power. But creativity, if you notice, oh, creative people are that much more powerful in the world, right? Because they create it. They don't wait around for, well, what's supposed to happen? I don't know exactly what to do. No, they just go do it, which is they create the answer. That's why I titled my book, You Are the Answer. You always have the answer. It's always there. You just have to create it. You have to express that creativity. And once you realize, oh yeah, even if the initial reaction is I'm helpless because I'm being a 4-year-old scared to my wits, that this is happening. Oh, but I'm not. Blow that picture, ground neutral. And then what would I like to create? What would I like to see now? Oh, I like to see everybody happy. I like to see everyone at peace, everyone experiencing love. Yes.
I kind of want to hop into the whole, because there's this, getting back to the idea of the empaths not wanting to feel everyone's pain. And I mean, what I'm kind of taking away from this is you're laying down your life for it to come through you, as opposed to unlearning that skill. Like, I like the phrase body of light better than body of glass, because I feel like still in glass, it could get stuck in me. So for me, I'm like body of light.
Yes.
But that's just semantics. But I'm thinking about, like, what's going on in the world currently, and all of the reaction, which I think is very like the intentional narration that's happening to induce fear in our culture, in our society, about what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. And and to me, it's like, oh, people in a nearby town have got together, they marched around the town with signs for Ukraine. It's like, I mean, like, in my mind, I'm like, that comes out of a place of helplessness. Like, what do? We don't know what to do. We'll do a protest. But at the same time, there's resistance in that, because you're trying to, like, and what I've picked up or learned, one of the things I've learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza is, the more you resist something, the more you make it real in your life. The more that you fight something, or the more that you think about something, the more that you worry about something, the more you make it real in your experience.
Yep.
And I was just wondering, like, in terms of people who are like, their hearts are going out to people who are suffering in, across the seas, or in Australia, where they've had these massive floods in the northeast side of Australia. What is the most effective way to use your energy to support healing or transformation or oneness? Because as soon as you get, oh my God, it's happening. Yeah, you just sent your energy to make it even more real. Marching around with your sign made it more real.
Yeah.
And that's the opposite of what you want. So what would your thought on that be?
Well, this is the difficulty in this world. Everyone in the human race, all those who are incarnated currently, this whole world we're in is one big school. And just like, one big school these days, while school starts in preschool and goes all the way through postgraduate school, right? That's a lot of number of years. And there's a reason why we don't have postgraduate, postdoctoral candidates hanging out in the preschool room to learn, or preschool kids in the postgraduate, except for a few prodigies. They're not in the same classroom. So in this world of nearly 8 billion people, we have even more levels of grade levels of learning. And so what works for the postgraduates learning doesn't work at all for first graders or sixth graders. So that's to unify all of humanity, or even a greater portion of humanity, to be on the same page. That's got to be done in segments of the population. So in the segment of the population that has no idea about resistance, well, what overcomes resistance is love, right? What gives us courage is love. We don't have any courage. We can't have an experience of courage which is being able to power ahead, even if we're frightened to death, right? Courage gives us the power to move ahead, at least do something in the positive direction. So what gives us that power of courage is love. When you know you're going to love yourself regardless of the outcome, you'll have courage. It's when we don't have certainty in that. Oh, my history is that every time I screwed up, I just kicked myself to the ground, and then I kicked myself to the wall, and then I kicked myself down the street for years and years and years until I'm almost, whatever. Well, guess what? Our memory part of ourselves is going, wait a minute, I'm not going to let you screw up this time. Hey, you better be sure if you're going to act on this, it better be right. Instead of, you got to do something, and this is what you know to do right now. It might not be perfect. You might not do it perfectly. All those Ukrainians that are scared in resistance and feel powerless and going, okay, at least I'm going to protest. Guess what? They're not protesting by themselves. They're getting a whole group of people to protest. That is the love, right? And that produces far greater miracles than how much they're in resistance doing it. So for that group, that's the best they have to offer. And it's working. Yeah. Then we got to get another group to do an equivalent of that at their level. So we got to get the first graders to do what they can do. We got to get the sixth graders to do what they can do, and the postgraduates to do what they can do. That's what I do is I get a group of people who are able to do things at a certain level. Then all of us could work together on that. And then when I'm helping out another group of people that are at a completely different level, who have no clue what this group can do, got to find out a way that we can come together at that level. So when you're working with sixth graders, you got to find something that sixth graders or this group of sixth graders could unify and get together on, even if they don't know calculus and even if they don't speak 17 languages or whatever, right? It's like that.
That's such a great thing, because it showed, like, there's my judgment about it, and here's the greater picture, is that they're still operating out of love. Like, the intention is still love. So that was a great teach for me. Linda, hop in.
Yeah, I've had a couple people bring up for people who are highly empathic, that guilt that they feel for it's too much. I can't do this. I need to step back.
Mm-hmm.
So can you address that, or Raphael address that of feeling that guilt of it's just too much. I need to back off. I know I do that in my personal life. It's like,
well, yes.
That your stuff, my stuff. I cannot do that.
Yeah. And it's, again, we talked about it earlier. How do we get somewhere? Awareness, right? And the more awareness, the more we're able to get to the destination of awareness, which is wholeness, healing, peace, joy, whatever, love, whatever you want to call it. It's the undivided state. So awareness restores us to the undivided. The more aware we become, the less divided we are. The less divided we are, the more aware we become. So it just always works in the same direction. And so in a situation, what you just talked about, the first thing for the person, the empath healer, to do is be aware of oneself. If I speak of it as myself, then I have to become aware that, oh yeah, I am an empath. All I want to do is help people. Right? I am a giver. And why am I a giver? Because I have a lot to give. But I'm also now aware that not everyone can have what I have to give. Some people can't even have a simple, hello, it's a nice day today, isn't it? They'll snap at you because they don't want anything of it. They just, it's too much. It's a little bit like letting the bright sunlight into the room that the person has all the blackout curtains down because they're having a migraine headache, right? And they'll scream at you if you go, oh, it's such a beautiful day, and so you got to be aware. Oh yeah, not everyone can have what I have to offer. So, because if I try to offer it to people who can't have it, it's going to fly back in my face, and usually it's not going to be pretty. So the person who, they're not guilty that they're not doing anything when or that they can't handle it. They can't handle something at that moment. At least that's what they believe. And after the fact, they get guilty about it because they go, I'm a healer. I should be able to do something about it. But again, you have to be aware you're where you are. When you learn, you'll be able to do more. The other thing is they're guilty that they're being powerless. But that's not true. So they have to become aware that, oh, I can't, right now, I can't, this is too much. Okay. You got to be aware. Okay, that's where you're at. And to have compassion toward others, you got to first have compassion toward yourself. And compassion always says, that's okay. I love you anyway. But the guilty person, at that time when they're guilty, they're not loving themselves.
I know.
They're blaming themselves.
I personally have a difficult situation because my husband is chronically ill. Mm-hmm. And when we have chronic emotional things that go on. And I told him, and there's part of me that feels not the best for saying it out loud, but also feeling very honest in saying, I don't know why, but I am burned out. I have empathy for everyone but you. And I feel terrible. Mm-hmm. And yet it's true. Yeah. And it felt honest, but it felt very painful to say.
And again, it's not an either or, but I want Raphael to answer it because she's married to a guy who's not chronically ill. He's chronically dead.
Well, some of that is just psychological. When you're taking care of someone for so long, you just go there. And you just, when that happens, it's like any emotion, it comes up. When you get angry, what happens when you hang on to anger? You're really self-righteous and that person did it to me and I should be angry and I'll never forgive you. I've been told that a couple times. And the only thing I could think of when somebody says they'll never forgive me is they're holding on to something for the rest of their life. They're stuck with it, not me. But with emotions, that's very human and it's okay to feel that way. Just like anger comes up, but if you don't grab onto it and hold on to it for the rest of your life, you let it go, it just comes and goes. And the other thing is that body of glass thing is really, really wonderful because it helps to give you neutrality. And you already have taken the step of seeing that your husband is on his own journey. And that, how healers become burned out is they have an expectation that person should heal. I just went through 11 months with a very, very close friend who was diagnosed. She was our real estate agent. I adored her. She's helped us buy and sell houses ever since Michael and I worked together, 36 years. some ridiculous amount of time anyway. I don't know. And she started calling on me for healing, and she gave me a condition. You can't tell me I'm going to die. You can't tell me I'm dying, and you can't talk about dying. So I made that agreement with her. And to the day before she died, I didn't talk to her on the day she died because she was in the hospital. She was like, I don't know what's happening to me. And I said, Alette, you told me not to tell you about dying. And she said, that's right. So don't. It was a great lesson for me that I could respect that she was going through this. And by the way, she knew someone who beat pancreatic cancer. And that's what she had, pancreatic cancer. So if anyone could beat it with their will, she would be able to. And in the end, she wasn't able to, and that was okay. But working with her was so interesting because as a healer, you know, if I went into judgment about where she wanted to be with her illness, I couldn't help her at all. But I worked within the narrow band of where she wanted me to work, and she was very happy with my work. And you know, of course, there's that part in the healer that says, "I want to be the hero" and all that. You're not always going to be the hero. Sometimes you're going to be the one that they blame, so to speak. And there, my light just went off again. Anyway, so that body of glass is really, really important, and looking at your judgments about what's going on, because that's sometimes what builds into those, you know, very negative emotions that we're ashamed of. You know, how I dealt with this one time with Michael, and this was in his second near-death experience, which you really haven't had a chance to talk about, and I know Kat wanted to. But when I got called, because he was in the gym when he collapsed and was
Oh no, that was the third one.
Well, that was the third one. Okay, yeah. You were talking about all right, then the third near-death experience. I thought that was the second one. Mm-mm. Well, okay. So everybody, Michael looked very, very yellow and dead and unconscious, and he had a million wires coming out of him. And the nurse that took me back there was very gray and very, you know, dour and serious and everything. And I think she did that to be respectful. But I walked in there and I turned to her and I said, my husband loves laughter and amusement. Why don't you guys just start laughing a little bit and having fun taking care of him? And they all looked at me like I was woohoo. But so I decided, well, at least I could raise the energy without saying anything out loud. And just as I was thinking that, the 6 guys with the gurney to take him onto the helicopter walked in. And let me tell you, it was better than that scene in the movie 10, where Bo Derek or whoever it was, you know, walking on the beach with her hair flopping really nicely. Well, it was 6 totally hot guys in uniform, the whole bit. And the first thing I thought is, forget the dead man, I'm going with them. Of course, I didn't really mean it, but well, maybe I did a little bit. But it helped me to lighten up the energy so that Michael could have the right energy wherever he was at the time. And he felt like he wasn't too far away at the moment. You know, I wanted him to see I was going to be okay, and that I was going to help him hold the space for healing if he wanted to come back. Because at this point, you know, 6 near-death experiences down the road, where I'm at with it was, well, you know, if he decides to go and stay, I think I'm going to be all right. But the second near-death experience, I think, was the one. It was 3 years recovery for Michael, and it was pretty horrible for me because I just hated seeing him suffering, to the point of, you know, if I tried to talk to him about it, you know, he didn't want to, and it was a lot of tension. And so I had to really, really work that body of glass neutrality and just let him be where he was, and let me be where I was, where I am at the moment. And if he's going to make a turn for the worse, I can still be okay. I can still love him, even if he might be passing over, and not to, let's say, obsess about the he might pass over part. And, after all these years of working all of this, I discovered within my own, let's say, meditations, as well as a couple of psychics saying this to me later, that I have a past life with Michael where I witnessed him getting his head chopped off. And I never got over it in that lifetime. And I had several lifetimes where I couldn't get over people's deaths. So the gift Michael has given to me, putting me through all of this, is he's teaching me to be okay with letting people pass over. And with my friend going through it this year, my friend died on February 4th. So it was this very recent. It was so much better. And the other thing is, working on the whole thing of body of glass and really, really forgiving. When my mother passed away in 2010, it was kind of a miracle for me, because I worked the energy. My guides came and said, you need to forgive your mother. And I'm like, I have a great relationship with my mother. What are you talking about? And they said, oh no, you have no idea how much is underneath. So I made it a point for 10 minutes every day in my meditation to just forgive my mother. And even if I didn't know what I was forgiving her of. And exactly 1 year later, she went into hospice. 5 days after that, she died. And I wasn't able to be with her when it happened, because she was in Ohio at the time. And we were in the mountains. It takes like 2 or 3 days to get to Ohio. And I knew it actually when I had seen her the month before, and I told her, I'm not going to be here when it's ready for you to go. Just don't wait for me. And she turned her head away like this. And I said, look at me in my eyes. Tell me you will go when you're ready. She went, all right. And she was able to. But the shocking thing to me was when she passed, when I went to her funeral, the only time I even had anything close to a tear in my eye was when my sister cried her eyeballs out at the funeral. And I felt bad for my sister, and I felt her energy then. And, we were all pretty vulnerable. But during the whole process of her 5 days in hospice before she passed, and then her passing, I didn't feel bad. I felt happy for her, which is a way big step in my spiritual growth for a lot of lifetimes. And I really appreciate that. So that, maybe part of what your lessons are similar to that, is learning to let go of someone who needs to go on their journey, whether it's on a bad health journey or a eventual passing over journey, is being able to just be that love for that person. And if anything, emotions come up, okay, here they are, just let them pass through, just like that body of glass, your emotions or somebody else's.
And that's that thing about compassion. With compassion, you can't fail.
Yep.
Right? No matter what happens, no matter what the other person that you are supporting decides to do or goes through, compassion is more than any other single tool, practice, whatever. Compassion is the thing that gives them the biggest healing opportunity. They might not take much of it, or they can completely benefit from it. And depending on the degree to which that particular soul is able to receive compassion, the miracles can happen.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's where complete turnarounds and total amazing, miraculous stuff happens. Or if it doesn't, it's still way exponentially better than without it.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the thing. You never have to figure it out. First step, compassion. And compassion holds the space for the person to truly have what they need to get out of any experience, good or bad, and it's fully supported by your love. It's not about how much can you do or how well can you handle this or anything like that. It's I'm here loving you regardless whether I can lift a finger to do something or move a mountain, I'm still the same. Nothing changes. And that's where the miracle window opens up for any kind of a miracle possibility. So that's where compassion is great power. And that's why we're never without power. We might not be able to, we might not be surgeons and do complicated surgery that could save a person's physical life. We might not be top-notch psychotherapists who can work with them on a psychological level and know exactly what to say and do and blah, blah, blah to make them feel better. But compassion, any of us, we don't need, a PhD in it.
Practice.
All right. Thank you, Raphael, Michael. That was like a master class once again. Angela, I know you had a question, and then I wanted to talk about the golden collar before we wrap up.
Yeah, I had a question, and I got so overwhelmed with all the love.
I
It
know.
it was just a bit much. But my question was more, I guess, an observation, I guess. Like in the last 2 years, I've come into greater awareness of on this journey, right? I've always had these abilities. I've kind of known them on a subtle level, but in the last 2 years, they've really come to the forefront. But it's been within the last 6 months that I've really made exponential shifts, and those have come on the cusp of me really understanding the value of the mirrors in life. Like, we are creating this life we project, and being able to see those mirrors being reflected back at us in the space of global events and things that seem to happen outside of ourselves, even within our marital relationships. They are all co-creative experiences designed to reflect back at us, give us deeper awareness of that which we truly are. So I guess it was more observation than question, just being able to take the value, see the value in what's being reflected back, not seeking to control outcomes, but using every experience for greater awareness of self. And that being all, using that, holding to that, being able to attach to that alone will allow all else to be able to pass through us as that vessel of glass, the clear glass. Yeah.
Yeah. And exactly. That's the single purpose of every single relationship of any sort that we ever have.
Right.
Yeah. Every relationship teaches us about ourselves.
Right.
Ultimately, we're all fractals dancing in the same density or variations of the density, but that's just the whole dance of oneness through the system of fractals and the illusion of separation. That's how I see it. Well, I wanted to talk about the golden collar, and I'm gonna, before we get into that, I was gonna say, here's my dog experience I had just 2 days ago. A friend reached out because they're having issues with their new dog. They've had this new dog for 3 months, and it's just been like anxious and like, just can't calm down, has separation anxiety, is only calm when it's outside, and could finally be able to run around. And she asked me, she was like, "You're the first person I thought of to ask about this," which I was really honored, because I don't consider myself really a pet communicator, but I can, I guess. And and at first I almost passed it off to somebody else because I disqualified myself. I'm not a pet communicator. I'll give that to somebody who's got the title, but then she sent me the pictures for the dog, and I started to tune in right away. And it was like, why did you get the dog? And come to find out, they got the dog as a replacement dog for a dog that had died. And I was like, oh, the dog doesn't know who she's supposed to be. She can't find herself inside the home. She's trying to make everybody happy, but because she doesn't know who she is, and she's just like frantic because she can't find herself inside your home. And so, I gave some solutions on how to do that. And that's just, stuff that was coming through. But it was really cool to just step back and say, oh, empathically, I'm able to pick up on that. And I could feel the dog calming down as I was relaying information to my friend, because she knew that she finally had a voice. Someone had given her a voice, and that there was now going to be shift and change in the household, and understanding that you can't use a dog as a band-aid. Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll toss the mic over to Raphael and let us know what you're writing about in the Golden Collar. I know it's fictional, but it's based on true stories.
Yes. And you know that wonderful story Michael told about Shanti. Well, the stories of Shanti, and actually was inspired originally before Shanti even existed. When we had our second dog, Aiko, we realized she was the reincarnation of my first dog, which only met Michael briefly because we weren't together at the time. But what I'd like to do is just read my little pitch. I have two little pitches. One is very short and one is a little longer, so that gives what the story is about. It's much easier than me just trying to bungle my way through it here. So my very short pitch is The Golden Collar is about a dog's death and profound afterlife experience based on a true story, but told by the dog, Shanti, a beautiful Great Pyrenees dog. And then I'm going to put my glasses on for the other one. Okay. So my story is an adventure of a lovable dog soul who, upon just passing over via euthanasia, has a giant and wonderful adventure to heaven and to her life review, which includes some of her significant past lives as well. This is all because she just finished her third incarnation with the same woman here in modern times who happens to have the gift of animal communication, which I never had training in, by the way, healing and clairvoyance. It includes lots of adventure, a foray into some of Shanti's past lives, which are filled with important lessons learned and profound insights for an evolving dog soul and her human family. And one of the purposes of writing this was because I loved her so much in all of her three incarnations, but also it's kind of an allegory for what we human beings go through.
Yeah, and there's this whole thing of her earning her golden collar, right?
Yes. Well, that's one of the underlying stories. So this was all downloaded when I started writing the book, so I don't know if anything like this exists or not. But each animal that exists on the planet, according to my story, has a collar that tells their level of evolvement. And so she's been going through the animals like wolves and, that branch of dogs before they're domesticated, carry a bright red collar. And then when they start to touch in with human beings, they get the shiny red collar, and then the bright blue collar for those that are like dogs of homeless people or dogs that are touching in with farmers. They're not quite committed to being with people and evolving that way, because animals evolve faster when they're around humans. And I do address the problem of abuse and all that, where humans are, not doing well with them. And then the next collar is the golden collar, which is a collar of committed service and working with humans and other animals, because some animals come in to help other animals, such as dogs that find homeless kittens and that sort of thing. So she's in that phase of finding out if she's going to earn that golden collar, because as her she has this lifetime in Egypt, her past life in Egypt, where she earns her bright blue collar to be around humans. And now she's 2000 and some lifetimes later, she's working on getting that golden collar of really committing to be with humans. And there's a lifetime shortly before the 3 lifetimes with me and Michael, basically. There's Shanti right there. She finally makes her commitment. She wants to work with humans. And so in these 3 lifetimes, the rules of this thing is the golden collar earning goes a lot faster. So she's only had her 3rd lifetime as a bright blue collar, and she's finding out in her after-death experience if she gets the golden collar. And one of the interesting experiences that she had in her lifetime was several times we were visited by a friend who has a daughter wheelchair bound with CP, cerebral palsy, where she has to be strapped in, and she had a service dog. and so it was because I can communicate with Shanti. She would come every time they would visit, which was 2 or 3 times over the years. She would come to me and go, I want to be a dog like that. I want to serve someone in that way. So in her afterlife experience as Shanti, she's going to discover if she gets to do that. So that's kind of what the collar colors are about.
That's so beautiful, man. If you want to make me start to cry, let's talk about abused animals and I'll just lose it. So thank you for sharing that. And so when do you think that's going to be out?
Well, I am working very hard on it. I'm in the last third of the book. Because Michael and I do all this work, it's been a long journey to write it, but I have an editorial assistant who's helping me move through it. And I also have a person who's going to be writing the script, because I think it's going to be beautiful for a movie.
Awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. We're a little bit over time, so I hope that you, Michael and Raphael, are you okay for a few more minutes here just so we can wrap up together? Okay, sure. Thank you. And I did switch us to speaker view so everyone could see Shanti sitting behind Michael. Adorable.
Aww.
Sweet, soft energy.
Yeah, she was very special. Everybody thinks their dogs are special.
Of course, except for the a-holes. So let us know, Raphael, what do you and Michael have coming up so people can, oh, we got one question that popped through. Hold on one second. If possible, could any of you tell me if our little, oh, okay. Well, I would say that's, so there's a question. Are you guys open to taking a direct question about someone's reincarnation question, or is that something that would be outside of this time?
Yeah, that might, well, they can ask it, but that might be too long of a,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because we're already over time. So
yeah, because and we also we don't do like personal readings during the show just because it's, you know, it's not the nature of the show. So I would say, should I ask Dana to hold on to that one and reach out to you directly? Would that be better?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll give you Raphael's email, Dana, and you can reach out to her directly. So Raphael, if you wanted to let us know what you and Michael have coming up, I think there's probably a teleclass. I think you guys do teleclasses at the end of every month. Is that right?
Well, we do teleclasses all month long, actually.
Oh, all month long. Okay.
Yeah, but we have 2 varieties. One is for our advanced group called Shape, which we're doing a lot of this month. But on April 2nd, that's a Saturday. Let me get my glasses back on. We do have an open to everyone teleclass series that we give called You Might Be More Psychic Than You Think. And we're doing a 7-week round of this class that is energy work for creatively expressing who you are in the world. And on April 2nd, that class is titled Creating Outside the Box, Energy Work for Creating the Extraordinary. And it's $75 for the class. It's 2 hours. It's 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time. And you can find more information on our website, which is michaeltamura.com. Also, every month, oftentimes every other month, we give a weekend seminar that's open to everyone that has a theme. It's usually 4 teleclasses, 4 2-hour teleclasses, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And then we do a bonus Zoom afterwards where you can actually meet us and ask us questions and talk. We can talk about the seminar that you just attended. Also, people who are constrained with time, you can get the recording or you can attend just a couple of the classes. Our next one coming up is going to be towards the end of April. We don't have a title for it yet, but it will be up on our website soon enough.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, Mr. Michael, did you have any closing thoughts, or Raphael, any closing blessings, thoughts, final statements of healing and positivity for the people?
Well, my favorite would be joy to the world. Christmas all the way, all throughout the year, but it's, more than ever now, it's a time for accessing and sharing the joy within ourselves. Yeah. Even, and a lot of times people think that, oh, how can I be joyous if there's wars going on and pandemics going on and more people than ever are suffering and everything like that? That's when we need it the most. It's the antidote. And just like Raphael mentioned earlier, where, oh yeah, when I was, after they resuscitated me, but I was still in a coma, and looking pretty much, when you look at the body and the being is completely gone, it looks dead, because that's what it is. And she, even in that state, she was able to find humor, and spirit always obliges, right? So spirit gave her 6, hunks who are paramedics to entertain her, so she can start laughing and bringing the energy up. And that helped enormously. Another thing that happened, during that time, when I was having open heart surgery and everything, and everybody thought, everyone from the doctors to the anesthesiologists to the chaplains, the ministers and the nurses came to Raphael in the waiting room and said, they're trying to soften the blow for her and saying, well, we don't know yet if your husband's going to make it, but if he does, the chances of me making it was, they told me, very slim. But if I even made it, they told her, he's not going to be the man you married. Right? So when I came back and she told me that, first thing I could think of is, you should have said, oh, thank God. I was getting tired of that one. But that probably wouldn't have gone over very well in that situation for the other people. But part of what made it possible for me to come back is one of our friends that Raphael contacted, who is an incredible miracle faith healer, who prayed for me all night. And at the end of it, about 5 o'clock in the morning, she calls Raphael and says, okay, here's the deal.
The Holy Spirit said.
Yeah, this is what the Holy Spirit said. He's gonna be fine. But your job is to not worry. And your job is to keep your energy up and see him well.
What she said was, if I believed he wouldn't be well, he wouldn't be.
Yep.
And it was very hard to practice that, because when he woke up, he couldn't remember anything for 5 seconds. But I did practice it anyway. And 5 days into this, when I got him home, the first morning after getting him home, he came back and he was able to have his memory. So it was very hard. It was very hard. But and you know what? The other thing was, in the back of my mind, I thought, well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I'm going to practice this. Mm-hmm. That's it. It was my commitment.
Yeah. And that really helped.
Yeah.
And also, why I couldn't remember anything for 6 days until I got home. Until I got home and woke up in my own bed, I wasn't coming back fully. I just came back enough to go, okay, let's do this thing. But it took the next 3 years to really come back. Yeah, and that was the really difficult part for Raphael.
And the trade-off was he lost 9 days of his memory.
16 days or 15, 16 days.
So you can't even remember now how much it was that you lost.
Yeah, it's 9 days, 9 days before and 6 days after, on the 6th day. Yeah. So anyway.
That's okay. Anyway. I lose my memory every day. So it's great.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having us and bringing such a wonderful audience to us. And you guys are absolutely wonderful. And I love what you're doing.
Yes.
So Thank
Did all
you.
that. Yep. Thank you very much.
What brightness I'm seeing here.
Thank
Thank
you.
We're blessed to be here.
Well, maybe part 3 in the near future.
Sure.
Get an online commitment for you so it's documented and you can't get on
It's an offer we can't refuse, right?
it. Too late. Raphael said yes. It's
That's
in the
right.
recording.
And also, I would like to, via email, send you the names of 2 ladies that I would like to introduce you to.
Oh, for interviews?
Yes.
Oh, yay. Great for conversations. Good.
Yes.
Yeah, we're in. That's great. I'm always looking for more. So that's fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say real quick, is this whole thing of like, because I had this dream, I won't go into the dream, but the gist of the dream, the message was be the one who knows. Be the one who knows, and to practice the knowing, which is, for me, it's like moment to moment. It's like, well, I didn't know it all day, but I need to start practicing that now because, and it is one of those things where it's like, I just want to flip the switch and know. I just want to flip the switch and know, but it's like an internal muscle. Like you don't do yoga once and you're toned and you know, your core is strong, like you have to repeat it. And so I'm like, this is your spiritual yoga where be the one who knows is something that you have to step into time and again. If you want to create the change that you know is possible, you have to know it in yourself. So I just wanted to tack that on to the conversation there.
Great.
Yeah, most of spiritual growth is practice.
Yep.
Yeah, damn it. I'm like, haven't I practiced enough? Oh, it never ends.
It never ends.
Well, yeah, it does.
Is that resistance I hear, Kat?
It is.
Linda, shush it up.
We have that on video too, so it can't be.
Only Linda gets away with that. Speaking of Linda, I'm going to toss the mic over so you can start our thank you to all of our people.
Well, thank you everyone for joining me in my learning journey today. I'm sure it will continue in our salon on Third Eye in Facebook. So come join us. Come join us for some continued talk on this. And thank you for being so participatory in the live stream chat. You guys are wonderful. You're so supportive and you bring up so many good discussions on the side. Thank you for being part of this program because it really is better because of you. And make sure you check the links below because you can get to all of Michael and Raphael's information there. And thank you for joining us, Michael and Raphael and Angela. You always add so much to this beautiful show. And thank you, Kat, for making all this happen.
Of course, and thank you, Linda, for being exactly who you are and being vulnerable today and speaking your heart and letting us cry with you and love you and just be in that healing place with you, Linda. I love you so much. So next week, our guest is going to be Mike Patterson, who is, I'm going to call him Mr. Sasquatch. He's just got so much video and audio stuff with Sasquatch. So we're going to be bringing him on and, you know, talking to our furry brothers who live in the forest and finding out more about that. So again, if you haven't already, hit that notification bell for to get notified when we do go live, because we're not always on time. If you haven't subscribed, of course, do that. And then, you know, thanks everyone. Thanks for being here. We love you. And this is a beautiful community and I'm so honored to be part of it. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.